Well, within the last week, there have been two major drills conducted by the military in U.S. cities with the cooperation and participation of the police. Now, this is something we should all be concerned about. The Founding Fathers are somebody that we look up to because they're the only revolutionary leaders that did not become tyrants themselves. They understood human nature and the depravity of human nature. And they not only defeated that in others, they resisted it in themselves, and they came up with safeguards and warnings for us as to how this would happen. And one of the things that they warned us about was a standing military as well as a central bank. A standing military will eventually, and has throughout history, become a tool of oppression. It has happened in our country in the past, where the military has been used to oppress people, and that's why we have the Capacity Comitatus Act. That was to counteract American suppression in the U.S. by the American military. Well, let's take a look at some of these recent drills. January the 28th in Houston.
Helicopters and the sound of gunfire created a lot of concern this afternoon in one Houston neighborhood. This happened in southeast Houston around the old Carnegie Vanguard High School.
When you see this, you think the worst.
She told me, don't come home because it sounds like we're in a war zone. Guns shooting and helicopters flying around over the house.
And an Army major who was out here wouldn't tell us exactly what kind of training they were doing. HPD was aware of what was going on, but the fire department apparently wasn't.
Well, this is the military assault on a school. This was done with helicopters, with guns firing, with troops on the ground. The residents thought a war was breaking out. They didn't know what to think. They were warning family members not to come by. Miami, 4 days earlier, January the 24th, 2013.
Still, if you've seen one of these drills, it really is like a scene out of one of those action movies, choppers stalking the sky of downtown Miami. Again, let me tell you what all of this is that we know of. It's a joint military training exercise involving local police, also military, as someone shot some video of some of these choppers, military-style choppers, flying over 395 in downtown.
Machine gun firing hit the deck.
You heard the guy, he says, hey, it's like a movie. I guess it's supposed to be fun. A lot of people didn't think it was fun. A lot of people were very frightened by that because, again, they don't bother to tell people. But again, what's concerning about that is notice that he says that they're training with the police. It's something that we see happening over and over again. Here's another one in Minneapolis, August 28th, 2012.
If you see military helicopters flying low over Minneapolis, do not be alarmed. They are training in an urban environment. The U.S. Special Operations Command will be conducting these exercises until the beginning of September.
Yep, that's the view outside my window.
That's right. Did you hear her say, don't be alarmed. Everything is perfectly fine. It's just the American military preparing to attack U.S. cities. Of course, nothing the government ever does is bizarre or to be questioned, just like we are never to question the TSA. And if we do, we're the ones who are bizarre. Here's another one. St. Louis, July 3rd, 2012.
It's a military mission in North St. Louis. Heavily armored vehicles are rolling into town, and while they come in peace, there are all kinds of rumors about why they are here.
We have called Army offices in St. Louis, and we've called Army offices in Washington, D.C., trying to get information about why this training is going on here and what it's all about. Well, we haven't heard back from anybody at the Army just yet.
When you go out to other countries, when you go out of town, they don't have police officers, they have troops. And I think it kind of scares a lot of people.
Chicago, April 17, 2012.
A pretty scary scene along the Chicago River turns out to be a military training exercise.
Two choppers came zooming right up the Chicago River here, close enough almost for us to touch them. There was nothing routine that folks reported as they witnessed the jarring scene of at least 3 Black Hawk helicopters zooming in and around residential office towers.
That is 2 helicopters flying above, or flying through downtown Chicago. It's 9:30 at night. They don't even have lights on. So weird.
They were lower than my buildings. They were definitely military, and there were definitely guys with machine guns. So I thought that perhaps there was some alarm or concern.
We saw military guys in the helicopters.
They were hanging out of the choppers?
Yep.
The NATO summit host committee insists this has nothing at all to do with next month's NATO summit.
Well, notice some of the things that they said. Although you're seeing the same things here as you did in other cities, people are talking about how reckless the behavior was. One of the videos that someone shot, he says, look at this, it's night, and these guys are zigzagging and weaving through skyscrapers at a very low altitude with no lights. Something of reckless endangerment, but the thing that we're really concerned about, again, is the police and the military joining together. Take a look at this clip from Los Angeles in January the 26th, 2012.
Special military operation forces in conjunction with the LAPD conducting some military maneuvers that had many people wondering what is going on.
When a Black Hawk helicopter and 4 OH-6s, or Little Birds, flew over the city. Duran says the military picks environments based on what they might be facing in the near future.
If it's a mountainous terrain, then they go to mountains. If it's a desert terrain, they use the desert.
Also, what we saw here tonight in downtown Los Angeles has been seen in Miami and in Boston.
Now, do you notice what he said? He said if it's a mountainous terrain, they go to the mountains. If it's desert, they go to the desert. If it's the coast, they go to the coast. Why are they going to American cities? Do you have cities like that in Afghanistan or Iraq? Are they planning to invade Iran? But if they're planning to invade Iran, why are they coordinating with American police? Do they think that the Iranian police are going to coordinate with them on an attack and an invasion of Iran? No. If the U.S. military attacks American cities, they will get the cooperation of the police, or at least some of them. Now, all these things have happened within the last year. All of these reports we just showed you in all these cities, major military drills involving the police and the military working together to take over American cities, training, as the man just pointed out, for the scenario that they're expecting to execute. This has been going on for a long time. It's just accelerating. Let's take a look at this clip where we sent a team to Chicago. They saw there a National Guard training with local police and the Polish military. Now, in just a few seconds, you're going to see some Boy Scouts in rubber jumpsuits. That's right, they're pulling the Boy Scouts in on this.
Get on the ground, on your knees! Everybody on the ground, on the ground! Put your hands on your face! On the ground, on the ground!
The Boy Scouts are being trained to be victims.
Do not move! Cover your face with your hands! Cover your face with your hands!
And in just a few minutes, the Polish military is going to come in full combat gear. That's right.
Big
Foreign troops will come
probably, in. 60 Boy Scouts down there with their scoutmasters and whoever else wanted to come along. Notice they have them lying face down in the anthrax powder.
It's a very real-life situation.
Notice that they're
Everyone lie
laying face
down
down
in the anthrax powder. We're going to move you.
Hostages, you are expendable. Please put your face directly in the powder.
All right. Yeah, all of a sudden the Polish BOA is participating in this exercise, which they didn't mention at all before that. It was just they're here to observe, they're here to observe. Hey, it's BOA. Bureau of Operational Anti-Terrorism is what I think it stands for. So I don't know, this was a hard one to swallow.
Well, we showed you Boy Scouts being trained to be victims. They're also training them to be aggressors. In a New York Times article in 2009, it says, Scouts to train to fight terrorists and more. Oh, what would that more be? The person who is helping them is A.J. Lowenthal, a sheriff's deputy. He says this is about being a true-blooded American guy and girl. Now, they also had them not only be aggressive with SWAT team raids, they also conducted a marijuana raid. And at one point, the guy says, put him on his face and put a knee in his back. I guarantee he'll shut up. Well, that's the kind of training they're giving the Boy Scouts, not helping little ladies cross the street anymore. Well, we have a long history of the military and the police working together in this country, training for martial law. And Alex has pointed that out for a long time in his documentaries and on the air. What's alarming about this, however, is the increasing rate at which this is happening. As I said, we just had in the last week, we had 2 major cities where there were 2 major exercises. The one that happened just a couple of days ago in Houston, they were firing guns and attacking schools. What is happening is we're seeing the militarization of the police, and we're seeing the military used as police. That's a very frightening perspective. We've seen that before in our country's history. We've seen it in other countries. And in spite of what the people in St. Louis said that they put on the media, that is not something that reduces crime. What it does is it makes criminals out of both the military and the police.
We'll take a caller now. We're going to take a Lieutenant McCoy from North Carolina. I've asked the military and some police call in and talk to us tonight. Lieutenant, welcome to the program. Are you there? Are you there, my friend?
Yes, sir. I hear you.
All right. And you're a lieutenant in the police or the military?
The police department.
Okay, welcome. You been listening to the show for a while?
Oh, yes, sir, for years now.
Bless your heart. And what's your opinion?
Things are going downhill very quickly, sir.
What are you hearing from your superiors of what's coming down and what you're looking for?
Well, they're looking for it to happen, and they're training for it to happen.
Now, you said they're training to take us down or training to defend us?
Yes, sir. Training to take us down. And
really?
Law enforcement here in North Carolina has started training with drones, military-operated drones.
Wow. Okay, they started training with military drones in North Carolina.
Yes, sir. That's correct, sir.
And your superiors are training the forces to take down the American people?
Yes, sir.
How are the forces responding to that?
Well, one of the main things that, and with the breaking news, that the ATF and the U.S. Marshal Service is recruiting from law enforcement agencies here in North Carolina.
They are, yes.
And what they're planning on doing is they'll get the local officers in with the ATF and U.S. Marshal Service. Now, the payroll will come from the state, but the equipment will be issued by the federal government, all except for the vehicle, and that'll be a totally unmarked cruiser that'll be issued to them.
Wow. Okay, and the timeline, what do you expect to happen?
The training is going to start within the next week with the officers that volunteer to do this, and mostly the ones that's volunteering are mostly the droid heads. That's what we call them anyhow.
Exactly, the ones who are gung-ho to anything they're told to do.
Yes, sir, and they're all pumped up. They're taking stuff to build their muscles artificially, and it's just unreal. I've been in law enforcement 31 years here, and I've never seen anything like it in my life.
What do you sense yourself?
I'm sorry, sir?
So what do you sense happening yourself? What do you sense, and what's your timeline you sense?
Well, I figure it's going to take them about 30 to 45 days to get everything in line. Now, we have our governor here in North Carolina is one of the governors picked by President Obama to take control under a martial law program.
Wow. And your personal opinion, Lieutenant, what are you going to do?
I'm going home.
You going home to protect your family?
Yes, sir. And that's what the Lord wants me to do, and that's what He says to do, and that's what I intend to do.
But do you expect some kind of movement then within the next 2 or 3 months?
Yes, sir, I do.
As far as?
I think they'll start to move, and they'll start picking out certain people and making confiscations and arrests.
Are they going to do that house to house along the road, roadblocks, or what?
It'll be wherever they can catch the certain individuals at. They want to catch them at home where they can take their preparedness away from them.
And do you have any names been given to you yet?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you think the higher-ups know who it's going to be yet?
I think they do, yes, sir.
Interesting. Well, Lieutenant, if this is the last time you get to speak to the public, what would you tell them?
Trust the Lord and be prepared to defend yourself and your family.
Would you tell them it's time to buy an AR-15 for home defense?
I would say it is, and if you can find one.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And have you also told them to store up food, whatever? Do you see a crisis maybe economically coming?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I see mostly the way I'm figuring it from the information that I've been able to gather is kind of going to come in all together at one time. So they can't blame the government, but they can blame us.
Oh, I see. So they'll collapse the economy on purpose to cause panic and then move in.
Yes, sir.
Now, are you hearing this personally, or you just kind of reading this out there?
This is personal information. This is not hearsay, sir.
So you've been told this?
Yes, sir.
One day soon, I'd like to talk to you off the air if you
okay,
don't
sir.
do that.